just noticed this. This is interesting. I did not notice this before. By the way, welcome. We're starting the show, but I was just surprised by something. It just says now I can broadcast on YouTube for up to 8 hours.
Ooh, we can really go all night now.
Seen that before because I've never seen that. That has always been saying 4. Now it's saying 8. Okay, I'm not sure. We are not doing 8 hours because I do not want to do 8 hours. I don't want to be up until the middle of the morning. I'll probably still be up, but I'll probably be tired from shoveling when I get done with this. But this is the enormous, well, it's the EUS. We're not going to call it enormous UFO supercell because it's not winter. It's winter time. And there's not going to be enormous supercells around.
Speaking of which, first little piece of news here. Speaking of which, the man that is responsible for the name of this show has replied to me.
Uh-oh.
To an email I sent to come on the show. For those of you that may not know, I got the title for this program from a YouTube video by a guy by the name of Hank Skyma. He goes by Pecos Hank on YouTube and on Twitter and Facebook and such. He had a video entitled Enormous UFO Supercell from earlier this spring. And it just kind of popped out at me, but I sent him an email and he replied and he said that he wants to make a plan to come on.
Uh-oh, that might be trouble.
But he wants to come on this, not Polygon.
Yeah. I'd understand that. We'll see. Probably want to do it after the holidays.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a disruptive period. A lot of people are running in and out and whatnot. So.
Yep.
But.
After things settle down after the holidays, we'd probably make it happen.
Yeah, because the thing is, the best time to get people like storm chasers is in the winter because they're not chasing. Unless they're like Reed Timmer chasing snow squalls in the Great Lakes, like he is tonight in New York State. I think he's up in the Tuggy Hill Plateau tonight. I think. I think he's up there because I think he was on the Lake Erie snow belts last night. I think he's up at Lake Ontario. I think. I'm not sure about that. Either or. He's in New York State, either south of Buffalo or he's north of Syracuse, somewhere in there. I wasn't paying attention. All I saw is, oh, look at this snowband, 5 inches an hour. Okay, whatever. I want 5 inches an hour. Thank you. Thank God we're not living near a lake.
Yeah, I wouldn't really. He's in Chautauqua County, New York.
That is
58 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's southern. That's the snow belt south of Buffalo.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if he was there or up in the Tuggy Hill Plateau north of Syracuse. So, anyway, that's going on there. The snow belts up in the Great Lakes because the lake effect is really going gangbusters. It's snowing here. We're under a winter weather advisory. There's winter storm warning just north of here. And this is one of these long duration snows that pretty much lasts all weekend, which means kids are mad because school's not going to be canceled or maybe even delayed Monday morning and the last snowstorm we had was on a weekend and school wasn't affected then either. The kids get to play outside because they have all the fun time, but then they don't get the fun time when school starts. So darn for them. Too bad. They might have some early or late starts next week because of the cold weather. Because it's gonna get brutally cold. and we're talking like lows near zero, maybe a few degrees below that. It's depending. It depends on how much snow we get and how much of it how much we end up getting, and if the winds calm down and whatnot. I don't see many. I see a few days where temperatures may not even get to 10.
Yuck.
During the day. That doesn't sound nice, but it's winter. It's December. It's Iowa, and I'll use I'm going to use a very prominent thing from the election. Suck it up, Buttercup. I wanted to use that. I thought that was funny, but it's winter. I mean, good grief. I mean, I can understand when it gets very cold because a high of 8 is not normal. But I mean, it's Iowa. Unless you've moved here from like California, outside of like Northern California or the mountains, like I'm talking about LA or San Diego. First off, I'm like, why? Second of all, I'd be like, why again? Because I'm like, you're in California, stay there. So, but I mean, it's winter, it's Iowa. I've lived here for all 36 years of my life. I've experienced cold. Do I like it? Not really. But I have to live with it. I'd rather have cold weather. I don't know about you, because you've, outside of your time when you've been off in the Middle East, when you've been stationed out there, but you have the tendency that if it's cold, you can warm yourself up better than when it's hot to try to cool off.
To a point. When I was going through cold weather training with the Army, I was told something that goes against not my belief, but just what I like for weather. It's always always possible, to add layers, but you can only strip off so much.
Yeah.
That's the key. Dressing for the weather. If you have 3 light or medium layers on, you can go out. As long as you're still moving around, you can go out in anything. Like me, I haven't worn a jacket, like a heavy parka, in earnest, except for when I'm working outside for extended periods of time. I haven't worn a jacket or a parka in about 3 years. I wear lots of t-shirts underneath. I start off with a kind of tight layer, and then I put on another looser one that's long sleeve. Then I'll put on one more short sleeve one, and then I'll put on a sweater, and then I'll put on a hoodie. And right there, that's 4 layers. They're pretty loose. They're not really form-fitting, but they're loose, but they kind of, they're not bulky and thick like a parka.
Yeah, you want to be able to move around. You don't want to end up being completely stiff.
Exactly. And that's the greatest thing, is that I can stay very warm. I put on some gloves and a hat, and some long underwear underneath some jeans. I can do whatever I want outside. I'm not getting cold.
Yeah, because I always noticed that I tend to sleep better in cold weather. I don't know why, because you can always just add blankets or whatnot. But and maybe since I've gotten my new bed and I haven't gone through a summer yet with it, although briefly at the end of this summer when I got it and when I was moving. But I tend to sleep a lot longer in wintertime, even when I had my old bed. In summer, I would sleep better. Maybe like in the summer, I'd sleep maybe 6 hours. And in the winter, I'll sleep maybe up to 7.5 to 8.
Huh.
I don't know. I mean, it's just, now the only time now for example today, it was kind of like 20, 25 outside. When I went down to Fairway, because I was down there and I saw a bunch of people I knew, and I was like, oh God. But anyway, I was outside. I was driving. I went back and forth. I was wearing t-shirt, and I think I was just wearing a t-shirt, and I just put on a wool zip up thing, and that's all I wore, and a hat. I didn't even wear gloves. Now, when I'm going to go outside later, I'll put on my winter coat because it's a big, thick, huge winter coat. Mm-hmm. But I'll probably not even. I'll just have, because I'm right now wearing my t-shirt. I'll just have the t-shirt on, and I'll just put on the winter coat, put on the hat, the gloves, and I'll shovel. And then usually what happens, this happened when we had the last snow, except that was wet and heart attack snow, which I hate because that's heavy crap and I didn't like it.
Oh, yeah.
That it gets me all sweaty. And then it's like I just went out, because this happened to me last time when I mowed, mowed. I'm still on the mowing thing. When I shoveled my driveway.
You're thinking warm in protest.
Yes, yeah, I know. But this is where I was getting at with the mowing. Shoveling my driveway this last time when it was wet, I exerted about the same amount of energy as when I would mow my entire mom's yard, and her yard is large. Mm-hmm. Because of the wetness of the snow, it was that bad. Now, tonight's snow, I already shoveled a little bit of it, and I was like, I'm not doing it anymore, so I threw salt on it. I'll have to shovel it again anyway. I'll do that after the show. And then I might have to go up to my mom's, and who knows how that's going to happen, because the city is not plowing very well. So anyway. But
yeah, even Main Street down here is still really slushy. There's nothing stuck.
Yeah.
As I hear cars drive by, I can hear all the slush.
Yeah.
Their tires.
Yeah. The temperature is at least in the 20s. So it is staying somewhat warm.
It's saltable.
Yeah, because I saw when I was out and about, they are salting and sanding roads out on the highway. So they are doing the job. So they're trying to stay ahead of it.
Yep.
Just it's just with the shoveling this, I exert a lot of energy. So then when I get back in the house, I'm not cold. I'm getting back to that. When I'm not cold, I'm sweaty. So then I can take all my stuff off, and then I wear my t-shirt, because most of the time in the winter, I'm not wearing a sweater in the house. I don't think anybody does.
I don't.
I just wear my t-shirt, jeans, and whatnot, and that's it. Cause sometimes if at night I'll wear my sweatpants and I'll wear them during the day. But I mean, it's because you'd rather stay comfortable. Because there's the one time it was a little bit cooler in the house, because there's a slight draft in here. I mean, no house is completely draftless, but
right.
For an extent. And I'll put on a sweater, but the minute that heat comes on, the Boeing 747 engine turns on, and it still does in the heat. It turns on, and it's the blast furnace, so then it heats everything up, and then I'm hot, and then I have to take the sweater off. So I don't know. I don't know how well that's going to be come when it's going to get colder later this coming week, when it's going to be down to near zero. I might put a sweater on. I might put a longer t-shirt on or something, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not looking forward to the fact of that. I think next week we're going to have a week from now, roughly, we're going to have another snowstorm. Mm-hmm. I guess this is good for farmers. They're going to get a lot of snow for a lot of moisture for the fields. But the thing I'm fearing about is I'm hoping this is not going to turn into like the winter of 07, 08, the winter before the flood, which there was a lot of snow that winter. Now, the first snow we had a lot of moisture in it because it was wet. This snow is much drier. So, yeah. I mean, we could have 70 inches of snow, but if it's all this fluffy stuff, it's not going to have much moisture. And I've mentioned that on numerous polygons in the past. So we'll see what happens with that. But weather related, I got into a discussion with a former Polygon guest. That would be John Wheeler.
Oh, okay.
Who's a meteorologist at WDAY and WDAZ in Fargo, Grand Forks, where he said he was getting excited that he wanted to see temperatures in the -30s.
Oh,
I was like, you're out of your mind, I told him. And we had into a thing about that. Because he, for those that would know, John Wheeler is from Iowa. He went to Iowa State. And he was saying the last time that he had ever experienced -30, or the first time he ever experienced -30 was in Iowa, in West Union, during Christmas of '83. And this brought me back to something that occurred, I think Eric Fisher, also a former Polygon guest, mentioned when he was saying something about the analogs of this December were very similar to December '83.
really?
Which is, I'm like, yeah, I don't like that, because that year was really bad because it was really cold. So everybody's been saying, oh, warmest November ever, warmest everything in November. And I'm thinking, yeah, we're paying for it now. Because now we're going to have the coldest December. I don't think it's going to be the coldest, but it's going to not be more above average unless we see a 50-degree temperature, and I don't see that. At least not now. I've been seeing a lot of -5, -10 on models lately. I've also been seeing a lot of models that are indicating anywhere between 12 to 24 inches of snow on the ground. Not 12 to 24 inches of snow in one storm, 12 to 24 inches of snow depth by the end of like the GFS, but you know how the GFS is, it's like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
For one example, this was I think yesterday or the day before. I was like looking, because the GFS right now is getting to Christmas. So there was a model that I was looking at where it showed on, I think it was the 23rd of December, southeastern Iowa was going to be in the low 60s. And northwest Iowa was going to be in the teens.
Wow.
So you can pretty much guess that, oh dear, bad stuff's coming.
That's almost severe weather. Or at least thunderstorms or thunder snow.
Yeah, but the next model, 6 hours later, southeast Iowa and the areas of west central Illinois and northeast Missouri were same time period. Where the model indicated that they were going to get a foot of snow.
Really?
And in the 20s. So that's why models are completely crazy that far out. You can go from 60 degrees to 20 and foot of snow. And I thought, and the thing was about that 60-degree, that warm spell, that it was this quick warm spell, the GFS has been hinting at that for like weeks, that there's going to be this quick warm spell, that there's going to be these quick warm spells with these continued pushes, because we're going to have continued Arctic blasts all month, it looks like. But there's going to be these tongues of warm air that are going to sweep up as another front's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible the temperatures may not get to 60, but it's possible we could see temperatures maybe back up above freezing. But I can't say whether or not it's going to happen, when, and for how long the duration, probably less than a day.
Right.
And then it's going to be back to being cold again. So it's very iffy. I still think this month's going to be pretty much below average. Probably going to be more snow than just this and the snow we had last weekend. So, but there's a few things. I don't know if there's anything you want to discuss before we move on to my crazy pissiness that's going to start in.
Well, you took care of all the weather stuff that I wanted to talk about already, so I'm going to go into a bit of good news. Well, another bit of good news. Anyways, finally, after 14 years, Army has defeated Navy 21-17.
Yeah, so you got excited about that.
Yes. All you squids, thanks, but no thanks. Love you guys.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Army Navy game is that wasn't this the first time in quite a while that Army and Navy both had winning records?
Yeah, because, well, let's face it, for the last decade or so, Army has sucked. Army actually has some talent now on the football field, which hurts me because, we're not neck deep in 2 wars.
Yeah, but the thing is that the talent on the football field will be talent into the battlefield and into the Pentagon later.
Correct.
So,
there was a bit of a kind of a seesaw game. We came out swinging in the first half, went into halftime up 14-0, and then maybe hit back hard in the second half, and then we had to come back from behind and win, and we wound up winning 21-17.
The best thing that probably happened was for the fact that Navy lost to Temple last week, so we didn't have to wait for all these stupid bowl game projections. Because that would have lost everything up for everybody to have to wait for Army Navy to play.
Oh yeah, that would have put the microscope on everybody.
But the thing is, Navy lost. So Western Michigan got to go to the Cotton Bowl, so everybody's happy. Army has 7 wins now. Yes, Army has 7. And they already were in a bowl, and Navy's already going to a bowl, so everybody's happy.
Yep.
Everybody's happy, happy, happy.
Of course.
But there is
But
one but there's one group of people that are not happy.
Who's that?
And I mentioned this last week a little bit about the weather forecasting bill that went through Congress. It passed the Senate, but it did not pass the House. And this is why, and I got this from something from Brad Panovich. He mentioned this, that evidently it seems like about the 2 or 3 or 4 bazillion decade war, some river in Alabama, Florida, and Georgia pretty much stifled the bill and caused it not to pass in the House. And so, because of that, the bill is not going to probably come up again next year. And in that bill was going to be a bunch of new stuff for forecasting, and also included was a Doppler radar for Charlotte, which doesn't happen. And they didn't get it. So too bad for them. Because everybody's fighting over some stupid river in Florida, Alabama, Georgia. And this has been ongoing for decades. I've been hearing about this thing for a long time. I'm like, really? I mean, get real. Like, it's a river, big whoop. And it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's an Alabama, Florida, Georgia thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, brr. It's like, who cares? 47 other states could give a shit less about your state and your river. Like, boo-hoo. Suck it up, Buttercup. I'm going to keep using that. Good grief, people. But there was other stuff that was included in the bill and that would have helped or whatnot. So
right.
We might have to discuss that more when we decide to do our thing about the new administration with Trump's administration sometime right around the time of his inauguration in January. Excuse me. So we'll have to discuss that with the whether we're going to have because I know the next satellite, which will be GOES-S, well, I think is supposed to launch late next year or 2018, something like that. And GOES-R has now become GOES-16. It's going through its testing right now. So my guess is, like I've said before, it's going to replace GOES-East, which is 13. So
haven't they revealed that But that's where it's going to go.
They haven't said where it's going to go, but my guess it's going to replace Ghost 13 because 13 has had so many issues in the last couple of years that that's probably where it's going to go.
Okay.
That'll become Goes East. 13 will probably be put into standby or moved into Ghost. Ghost 13 might be standby. They might move Ghost 14 because Ghost 14 has been up there and not hardly used. I mean, you put up a satellite and don't use it. I mean, what a waste. I mean, 13 is still usable. I would still put that in standby, move Ghost 14 to Ghost South, which covers South America. And then Ghost S comes up. You decommission 13. And then you move, and then make 15 standby, and which goes west, and then you move Goes S, which would be Goes 17 to goes west, something like that. So, but there was that, and I'm sure there was probably something else besides that, besides the cookie thing. So let me make sure. I'm gonna look it up to make sure what I wanted to yell and scream about. Oh yeah. Okay, now I had to look up the messages I sent you. Now I remember. This is what I'm like, duh. Anyway, first off is going to be cookies.
Uh-oh.
I am pissed as hell about cookies. So this is what happened, and I'm not happy.
Why is that?
And it's not weather related, but I'm like, half the show isn't. So anyway. My mother and I went to Perkins on yesterday, and we got cookies because I was like, ooh, oatmeal cookies, yum. Well, they changed their oatmeal cookies because they used to have oatmeal raisin walnut cookies. They're not oatmeal raisin walnut cookies anymore. They're oatmeal cranberry cookies.
Ooh.
It's that ew as in yuck or ew as in what? It's just like, ugh. The thing is, I'm thinking, I'm like, they can't even afford grapes, but they can afford cranberries? I mean, the company, Perkins' parent company, Marie Callender, by the way, because Perkins is owned by the same company as Marie Callender. I'm thinking, that company has been near bankruptcy, and they can afford to have cranberries? And not walnuts? I demand to know why they decided to get rid of oatmeal raisin walnut and had oatmeal cranberry. And I'll say this, and I don't care if anybody doesn't like it or not, they're a piece of shit. They are doused in vanilla, and you don't even taste the oatmeal. It's that bad. It is awful. Blech.
Wow.
They have to pay me to eat them because they're awful.
Wow.
But I'm like, ugh. But it's like, ugh. But then this brings up the second thing, tires.
Uh-oh.
My car's tire is losing air pressure again, which the fact that it's wintertime and tire pressures do go down, noted by Nate Johnson making a snide remark about tire pressures go down in the winter. Well, no, duh. Of course, Nate Johnson is a former Polygon guest, but anyway.
Not anymore.
What? Well, probably not because I might punch him in the face. But anyway, well, maybe not. But anyway, because he's nice. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, because as most of you know, because I got a new car. Well, not new car. My used car that's new to me back in the summer in June, and I've been having problems with the air pressure in the left rear tire. Well, this past Sunday, the tire pressure thing went off last Sunday morning, and I had to go put air in it. That was right before the big wet plop fell.
Yeah.
So I put air in it. The air pressure gauge went off again 2 days later. 34 to 35 pounds PSI pounds per square inch. It was down to 24.
Wow.
It had gone down 11 pounds in 2 days. I'm like, that is ridiculously stupid. And I've already had it fixed once. And it's not their fault. It's just, I think the problem is that it's a side thing where if I turn and drive, like curve and turn or whatnot, there's side forcing. It's causing the air to leak out or something. But, I mean, it hasn't gone off yet. But I've hardly driven it because I'm not wanting to drive it in this weather because I don't want to crash.
Right.
But I mean, it's ridiculous that it's that bad. I had to put air in all the tires because they were all slightly low, which is understandable. Because last time I put air in all four was like walking like August or September, and they were down to like the other three were down to like 30 or 31, and they're supposed to be at 34. So, but that just kind of irritated me and whatnot, besides the cookies, which makes me more irritated. So, but outside of that, cold weather, it's just plain bleh. Out.
Cold and snowy and not fun.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to discuss, because last week you weren't here because you were aching from your tooth. If you wanted to discuss the infamous incident with the tornadoes we didn't see from 2 weeks ago Monday.
We could spend a minute on it.
Yeah, you'll go. Jeff said go this way, and Jeff was wrong, so Jeff's not coming with me no more, you'll say.
This is a learning experience for me. Well, for both of us, really. To set it all up, we went out last week.
It was a week ago last Monday, so it would be 2 weeks ago this coming Monday.
This is true. Okay.
It tells us how the weather's changed. We're talking about tornadoes 2 weeks ago, and now we're talking about zero and snowing everywhere.
But we decided that we're going to go out and chase. It looked favorable enough where we thought something was going to happen. And sure enough, it did, but not where we were. Now, both of us, right before we left and as we were leaving, we were looking at model data, kind of checking things out, looking around. From the model data that we gathered, it looked like that we were looking to get the best chance for spinning storms somewhere south of, call it Highway 34.
Yeah.
And west of Highway 218.
Yeah.
So we start trucking south, and we get to our target area pretty close to the Iowa-Missouri border. And the next thing we know, we see tornado warnings going up. Lots of them. And they were about 150 miles north of us.
Yeah.
And that one kind of stung because my girlfriend, who lives right on the border between, right on the city limits of Appleton and Parkersburg, saw a tornado right outside her kitchen window. Saw one form and then go on to touchdown and then track northeast as it moved along. And then she went after it and she saw another one go down. Well, same storm, just a different tornado.
Yeah.
And she took some photos and some video. Her video then went on to be blasted all over Twitter, went viral on Twitter, and therefore got shown on the Weather Channel and KWWL and KCRG. I don't know about the other station. I don't think it was on there. But all she had to do was go outside onto her porch, look for a little bit, and then she drove about a total of 20 miles. And that was the end of her chase day. And she got 2 tornadoes. We drove well in excess of 300. Wound up getting underneath tornado warning storm, which fizzled out really quickly to the point where the National Weather Service actually canceled the warning about 8 minutes after they issued it.
Mainly because of the sunset, and I think that zapped it.
Yeah, after the sun went down, it went away pretty quick.
Even the parent thunderstorm went away pretty quickly too.
Yes, it did. But the takeaway for me with that was, don't always trust, the absolute best numbers in the models.
Especially on days where you're going to have low top thunderstorms like those were, because low top thunderstorms tend to be very fickle, and they don't care what models say. They're going to develop where they want, and it's more of a case with low top storms that instability doesn't matter. So because where we went was where the instability was the best, and there was still quite a bit of shear, so you would have shear plus instability. Ooh, no. Low top thunderstorms could give a crap less about instability. They could care less how much cape they have. So I think the storms further south where we were had a lot more lightning in them.
Yes.
But they just didn't have, the spin was okay. If it had been an hour earlier, I think the storm we were on might have gone on to produce a tornado, but it came so late in the day. The tornado warning went out right around sunset, and there was what looked to be a lowering, but it dissipated really fast.
Yes, it did.
And the thunderstorm kind of dissipated, and so, I mean, for a late season event, it's very hard to discern whether this storm is going to or this storm. You have to wait for storms to form, and they're not going to look like these big, huge supercells of April, May, June. They're going to look like little teeny little things that look like kidney beans that are tiny, that maybe 3 or 4 miles wide by 5 or 6 miles tall, or you mean like 40 or 50 square miles of thunderstorm, which isn't
right.
Big. And I mean, you're going to get a little tiny little tornado, and it could be clear on both sides of it. That's how it could be. And that's from when I was seeing her video. It was backlit. I think one or both were backlit.
Yeah.
I mean, because the thunderstorm was, she could have easily seen, she probably did see the whole thunderstorm. You could have taken it wide shot, and you would have seen the whole thunderstorm and the tornado.
Yep.
Low top thunderstorms you could see the top of the thunderstorm, the whole thunderstorm from left to right, and the tornado. It'd almost be like a perfect, the diagram of the thunderstorm that everybody has seen, the spotter training and whatnot. It's almost like just take that and shrink it down, and that's the low top thunderstorm. Because they're small, they're not very tall, and you can still get a tornado out of them given the amount of shear that was in the atmosphere that day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was also the last day it was above 50 degrees. Okay. So that and that was at the last day of November, I think. No, it was like the 29th or something. But it was, the only thing I remember about that is I got my pants dirty, and I twisted my ankle a little bit, which kind of irritated me. But, but I mean, I don't see any more severe weather around here.
No.
Because I think this cold pattern is going to last the rest of the month. And unfortunately, it's also going to settle into the south, which pretty much means they're not going to have a second season of tornadoes. They might have some decent rain. They've gotten a lot of good rain down there.
Yes, it has.
South. I was talking last week about Gatlinburg. They've reopened, so everybody's been able to go back there to the businesses that are still left, and I think 90% of them still are. So there's nothing. Nobody's complaining about forest fires down there. There's a lot of burn bans that have been lifted. A lot of state of emergencies have been lifted. So that's one good thing that the pattern, even though we've turned colder, that they're at least getting precipitation down there. So,
yep.
So
that's good news for the South. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But one thing that still kind of creeps around in the back of my mind is something Span said when he was talking about one of these droughts. He's like, usually these droughts tend to end pretty badly. They end with a bang. And I don't know if that was the outbreak that happened just recently, or if he's kind of alluding to something else and just keep your guard up type thing. But I'm gonna try and look into that, because I just saw that on a Facebook video just this morning. So I'm gonna have to look into that.
Well, I think the thing is most cases that when it seems like droughts end, and this is a case for back in Texas a few years ago, their drought ended the one in Texas and Oklahoma, the Texoma area, it ended really quickly because they all of a sudden got like about 6 months worth of rain in a month. And all they went from having drought and everything is dried up to having flooding everywhere. Now everything eventually soaked in, but it just ran off everywhere. Reservoirs went from like 20% full to 100% full within weeks, and everybody was happy. And it's like, okay. I mean, I'm thinking Span's talking about the thing with drought, and this happened with this one storm. You can have drought, but if it starts raining heavily, it's all going to run off. Then you have flash flooding everywhere, and then that does no good.
Yeah,
because the water's not going to soak in. Excuse me, it's just going to run off, and that causes more trouble. You need gentle soaking rain, and they've been getting that now lately. So we'll see. We're hoping it's not going to mean tornadoes. I mean,
yeah, here's hoping.
But speaking of other weather, I noticed the Pacific Northwest got snow. I think the areas near and around Seattle got snow. Portland got snow, which is not rare, but not it's rare but not unheard of for areas like Seattle and Portland to get snow.
It's not one of those common things that happens.
Yeah, because I happened to notice that through Twitter and whatnot, that they were getting snow up there, and everybody's going, "Oh my God!" So they were doing that. Outside of that, I don't think there's much of anything else that I can think.
Not really.
I mean, it's just kind of a boring time.
Yep.
I mean, with the snow flying, I mean, I don't dare want to try to look up stuff because I'd be afraid my computer's probably going to decide to go, no, you're not going to look up anything. It's fine now because I think it's just a plugin issue, but I mean, I'm looking up the 18Z GFS right now, which, as we know, the 6 and 18Z GFS is pretty much trash, most cases, but but I'm looking it up anyway because why not? It's here. So when I was talking about that there'd be all this snow possibly, because I'm going to look up snow depth. You can't look up snow amounts to 384 hours because they only go out to 240. I don't think you'd want to see it to 240, but I'm gonna put it out. I'm not gonna put it on screen because I'm not the type of person to go, oh my God, 25 million inches of snow, post, give me a like.
Yeah, right.
I can get into that for an hour, but I'd save my breath on that. I'm looking at the 240 for the accumulated snow, and it's like, that looks reasonable Southwest Iowa may be having, this is over a 10-day period, maybe 1 to 3 or 4 inches in the next 10 days, and Northeast Iowa seeing maybe up to 10 to 14 over 10 days. That seems reasonable. That's not unheard of because there is going to be another storm next week. So
Right.
now I got to look at snow depth, which will take me to say if there's going to be a white Christmas or not. And it shows that the snow depth in it. This is funny. It shows the snow depth on Christmas Day. That there'll be snow on the ground north of Interstate 80, but not south. We'll see about that. I can imagine what's gonna, if I went to the temperature thing, it's probably gonna show me a 60-degree temperature again. And why would I not be surprised? If it keeps showing it numerous times, you have to start to think that it's telling you something. Well, that's telling me something. That's next weekend. That could be interesting. And there it goes again. Yep, it's back.
What's back?
The warm temperatures again.
Really?
I'm going to show this because this is why model. Everybody goes crazy about this. I'm just going to. So let me hope to God that this is not going to break. I don't want to fight people. I want to do this. Screen share application, this. Okay. Okay, so this is what I have here. So this is the model. This is the temperature thing. See, and I'm going through it. There's the cold weather next week. There's 2 below 0 in Cedar Rapids. That's right here. Below 0, that seems to be about right. And then there's more below 0. There's 12 below Decorah, Purdy, Sheen, Dubuque, Waterloo. I don't like that. But then look what happens next weekend. All this warm air down in Kansas.
Yep.
And look how it comes up. Ooh, 51 in Ottumwa. Ooh, get out the shorts. Now this is next Saturday. This is telling you something. Especially when it's 51, 54, 7. This tells you something. Now the first thing is, and I'll tell you this right now, right here in this area where it's right here from this line that I'm doing from about Marshalltown to Galesburg to Peoria to Bloomington north. These temperatures are way too warm. Why? Because there's going to be snow on the ground and quite a bit of it. And I don't think they're taking it into, it might be taking into consideration given the fact that Burlington's 48 and Galesburg's 39. So it's possibly taking it into consideration. But what would you see here? This happened right after we had that glop last weekend. There was a bunch of warm air that tried to come in where it was like in the 50s in western Iowa. What happened here? Fog. And it was stuck in the low 30s all day. That was on Monday. And I think the same thing is going to happen here. It's either going to be foggy or you run the risk of, is there going to be a chance that some of this could be freezing drizzle or freezing rain if the ground temperature is below freezing and it's above freezing up above, because there's all this warm air that's coming up. That would tell me sleet or freezing rain or something.
Somewhere.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to get into a forecast or whatnot, but I mean, this is what drives me nuts about models is they don't take into consideration what's happening. It's like snow falls. Then they say it's 60 degrees. That's impossible. A couple of days ago, it was showing the model was saying it was going to be 60 degrees in southeast Iowa and it was going to get rid of 12 inches of snow in like a day. If that happens, we're going to have flooding everywhere.
Yep.
I don't care how much snow moisture content it has, or how little or how much. You can't get rid of 12 inches of snow in one day. I don't care what happens. That's ridiculous and stupid. That's why all these people are like, the models are showing 20 million inches of snow. And it's like, well, yeah, right. It's not going to happen. I mean, the chances of us getting a storm with 2 feet of snow is not 0, but it's less than 1/10 of 1%, if that. I mean, I can see this warm air because this part of the area, northern Missouri, southern Iowa, is probably going to have almost no snow.
Yep.
And the ground temperature there is still warm enough that some of it will melt before we get the blast later in the week. But then you look at this, and then first off, as you can plainly see, I'm showing this. Does anybody actually think this temperature right here is going to happen? -40. And I think that's in Wilmer, Minnesota. I doubt it. Especially when 6 hours later it goes to -8. The temperature doesn't go up that quickly unless you're in the mountains. And then, I mean, who's loving this at 6 o'clock on Sunday? This is the Sunday, next Sunday. Who's going to love at 6 p.m. on next Sunday? The temperature in Algona is going to be 29 below 0 at 6 p.m. Yeah, not happening. And and then look, here comes warm air. Woo! Look, 56, 43. I mean, does this look like we're going to have like a foot of snow and the temperature is going to look like this? Really? Yeah, right. This is ridiculously stupid. I mean, I'm showing this just for the benefit of how dumb this looks. I mean, this is 288 hours ahead. But the problem is I've seen this on the GFS at least 4 or 5 times. So it's giving me a hint something is going to happen. But then it quickly is then...
That's what I'm saying. I think it's just hinting at warm weather. I don't think it's going to be that warm. But it's hinting at warmer weather or warmer temperatures.
It's more of a showing that the end of the month is going to be a bit warmer than the... But I'm starting to think that lately models have trended to be warmer than average anyway.
Right. Because
all the climate models that I've seen says it's going to be above average every month now until 2018. Like, okay, that's nice. I could care less. Because climate models, whereas they're interesting to look at, I mean, they're not. If climate models were so good, then climate models tell me what the forecast is going to be on September 15th, my birthday, in the year 2022. You can't? Well, darn, too bad. But you can't even tell me what is it going to be doing outside in an hour. Is it still going to be snowing? What's the temperature going to be? What's the temperature difference between me and Matt? We only live about 3/4 of a mile apart. His temperature is probably going to be a degree lower than me because I live slightly higher in elevation than he does.
Yep.
I mean, you can't get that pinpointed, but climate models act like that they can get pinpointed. They can get a generalization, but that's about all they can do. I mean, I could have brought up the climate models, which the climate forecast models that are on here only go out to 30 days. There's others that I've seen that go out 8 months. And I always love looking at those because I could forecast when there's going to be tornado outbreaks for next year. And I'd be like, yeah, they're not going to happen. I mean, I don't know how climate models can, because it was showing like where weather systems would be and whatnot. Thinking you can't project that far out. You could have I mean, it'll say it's going to get cold. Well, no, duh. It's going to get cold. So, and I'm flying off the handle with that, but I mean, it's just because there's too many people that have been doing, because there's this thing nowadays with fake news and all this stuff now, because that's the new thing now, evidently.
Yep.
I think the problem is now there's too many things where they're doing fake weather. They're posting models that are models. They are true models, but they're making it sound like it's a forecast. And it's not like it's anything new. It's just now becoming more apparent and worse than it used to be. So, especially when they were talking about a storm last week. This was the one before that was going to be after the glop snow we had on Sunday. They thought there was going to be this big, huge storm on Tuesday and Wednesday. Oh my gosh, the end is near. We only got flurries. That's all. and I know Frank Frank, who was the first ever Polygon guest and on a show way back in like 3 years ago, almost 4. But he made a snide remark about, where's that snow we were supposed to get? Because he was being snarky about the stupid people posting these 50 million inches of snow things. And I was like, well, I mean, that's just the era we're living in now, but I don't know. So, and a car is driving by really slowly. I thought they were going to crash. So.
Right, I think I'm going to go cook some dinner. I'm making some chili for all this snow.
Yeah, you can't come up and shovel my driveway.
I already have to shovel mine.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm gonna have to go shovel outside while we're in a break right now because it's not snowing. I'm looking out my street light and I see a few flakes, but that's about it. So I'm gonna go irritate my neighbors with my shovel.
Ooh, fun.
So next week we hope to not be shoveling snow. I fear we might. So tune in next week and you'll see more shoveling and hopefully more rants, and I'll complain more about the oatmeal cranberry cookies. Stay tuned.
Hopefully we might have a guest.
Well, we'll see. So
we shall see.
So next week, stay tuned because it's getting better. We think. We're not sure. So
I think so.
So we're heading out to go exert energy. So
and get cold.
Yeah. So see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.